Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Flesh and Blood Team League stream. I'm your host, Adam Philipchuk. Alongside me is Eric Larrere from Spark of Genius, hopping in for another stream. And Eric, we've got a big match for us on this time. Yuki Lee Bender taking on Thebeau from SEAL Team Lotus.
Yeah, it's definitely probably the anchor game, the preeminent game, probably the one where viewers probably know the players the most, I would say, out of the two teams. So definitely excited to see this game two, I believe. It was 1-0 for West Coast Best Coast, I think.
Yeah, currently,
Oliver taking it down. Game one.
yeah, currently 1-0 for West Coast Best Coast. Oliver played Tim Scroggs yesterday.
Right.
Oliver Chen. He was on Oldham. Tim was on Briar, and
Hmm.
it was a pretty. I mean, Oliver played a really good, solid defensive Oldham game. Apologies, my cat's decided to get in the stream. Uh, just played
That's funny.
a really solid defensive game. Whittled Tim down bit by bit, and just got him in that place where then the dominate would seal the deal. You know, the glacial it was a blue glacial footsteps fused that won the
Classic.
game.
Yeah, fair enough. That's it is important to note that even with the it's not BNR, it's BNS, which sounds really weird to say. Like I
BNS does
recorded a
sound
video
weird.
where I was like recording yesterday for the things, and every time I was like, oh, it's the BS. Whether you think it's BS or not, it's the BNS schedule coming out here because it's suspensions and not restrictions anymore, right? So this is not played with that BNS list. This is still everything is fair game because I think that only goes live May 2nd, right?
That is
So
correct.
everything is still fair game. Viscera has not been punted off the face of the earth yet. Starvo is still doing Starvo things with Awakening, and everybody is all off on their merry way. You might see some Prism, maybe some Lexi, all that kind of good stuff here, but we don't currently know what Yuki or T are playing yet. I think we're just gonna be loading into the game eventually.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and
but
we can look back at the last couple weeks though to kind of try to determine what we might see. Like Yuki, we've seen her week one, I believe she played Viserai.
mm,
Week two, she was on. Oh boy, no. Thought I had all this memorized. I
uh,
believe it was Rune Blade. No, she played Lexi week
just on
two.
Star, was she awake?
No,
I thought she was
Starvo.
on Starvo. Yeah.
Starvo. That's what it was. Week two, Starvo.
Ye-
Week three, she sat out. And
Mm,
then week four, we saw her on Lexi. And
right.
meanwhile, and I think Yuki has kind of shown that she can play a lot of things pretty well. Like she's got a pretty good handle on the game, and she can. I think no matter what Yuki shows up on today, we can expect a big fight.
For
If we
sure.
look at Tim, or if we look at SEAL Team Lotus for Thebeau, Thebeau, he week one he was on Starvo. Week two we saw him, and that was a win on Starvo. Week two we
Hmm.
saw him take a loss on Starvo. Week three he took a one on Starvo, and last week a loss
I
once
think
again on Starvo.
he's 2-2 on Starvo for all four
2-2
games.
on
So
Starvo.
I'm willing to bet probably a safe prediction he's going with Starvo for this game five to try to win out here. I don't see him wanting to change heroes for week five on like one of the deciding weeks essentially to see if you can break out because if Team Seal Lotus loses this series, depending on how many games, I think West Coast Best Coast jumps over a couple spots, right? So
Yeah,
it is a pretty pivotal series here with West Coast Best Coast already up 1-0. I feel like he's probably sticking to what he knows here in Starvo, but especially without the bans coming through yet, the Awakening ban and the Autumn's Touch restriction suspension. See now even I'm saying restriction suspension. I got to get that in my head here. So I it's probably going to be Yuki into something. So I mean Yuki's played against a ton of Starvo. She's played a lot of Prism into Starvo. I definitely would not be surprised to see a Prism. Also, wouldn't be surprised to see like a Viserai. Those are probably the two that are more likely. I don't know. She might be bringing out the Lexi because obviously, if she has the same kind of knowledge here that T is probably playing Starvo, because I mean she has access to what he's played, right? So if she is expecting the Starvo, probably more likely than not going to go with those two. I don't think she's going to go with Lexi here, but I've been I've been incorrect before. It wouldn't be the first time, so uh, we'll obviously wait to see here. But I'm foreseeing a Prism versus Starvo.
That's what your spidey senses are telling you,
No, well, because
or
if
your gut instinct, or
Nathan
whatever.
Nathan's also on that team, and he's only played Prism, so I don't know if Yuki would want to take that from him. So honestly might be Viserai here, like an OTK-ish Viserai, and then she like pops up with Chain or something random. Just watch me just be super wrong, but or it's a Starvo mirror for all I know.
Yeah, and that's until we actually we do have the I've got the info for the TTS room. I've just popped in, so I'm going to take us down to the floor right now. The players haven't revealed their heroes yet, but they should be any moment here.
Hmm. Yeah, it's I, I I think just based on what's coming out here. Oh, we just saw Viscera just get flipped right over on the table here. I don't know who flipped it though.
No, I don't. Hmm, this is
Somebody flipped
interesting.
it. I thought it was on T's side,
Yeah, I think
but
I think that's on T's side.
could be
So
pulling the old switcheroo. Play 4 games of Starvo, the only to go into Vis game 5. A last hurrah for Skeletor, baby.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Looks like the players are rolling up here, determining who's going to go first or second. They're interesting that they're doing it even before they reveal the heroes. Looked like Yuki had a
Yeah.
3, and T's got an 8, so
T.
T's choice here.
So the Prism was correct, apparently, but I think she might have seen T play 4 games of Starvo, thought Prism was probably the safest, and then T says, JK, JK, I know that's what you were looking at, so I'm going to play Viscera. I'm going to pull out the sneaky Viscera here.
Well,
It's kind of what I think happened.
something of note here: the way that the rounds get paired up each week. You don't know what person you have to assign the hero to the player and like assign all that stuff before you even see the opponent's roster. So it is
Mm,
almost not like you can look back on the past weeks and try to look and see where players got placed and try to see if there's a pattern that emerges, but beyond that it's almost nigh impossible to actually meta meta in this league, and I think that's by design. It'd
fair
be nice
enough.
if you it'd be I don't want to say it'd be nice. It'd be interesting if we did it in such a way where maybe the players got picked first, and then once the players got assigned, then you got a chance to pick
Hmm.
your hero, and you could try to meta it that way. But
Sure.
the way they're doing it right now, I think is fine as well. It's made for some really good, tight, interesting matches up into this point, regardless.
Yeah, for sure. And so this is, still Viscera with the Skeletor shenanigans that we have come to all love or hate, depending on if you are a Viscera player or not. And we do see Prism on Yuki's side, the PTI hunter Prism herself here. So she's gonna see if she can keep that name on Prism here. But she is definitely very practiced on Prism. I've played her a bunch while she's been playing Prism. She's done some pretty dirty things. So we're gonna see if she's able to pull it out versus Viscera. I think in general, Viscera will have the edge in almost every situation. As far as like a favorite matchup into Prism, Viscera is definitely aggressive enough to put enough pressure on Prism to, give a run for her money here as far as setting up auras and such. You're having a lot of non-blocks in your hand with all the 4 cost auras that the explosiveness is quite hard to mitigate. I'm not really sure on the 80 cards Yuki is running into here, so I'm not sure how many D reacts she's running or how much fatigue she really has, but I also don't know what the Viscera is running, so yeah, it could be more tempo skewed or more OTK skewed. So I think, as you kind of alluded to earlier, since they don't know who what hero their matchup they're playing against, it could have easily been a Viscera to Starvo, where maybe you wanted more of an OTK skew, right? So I think it's probably slightly Viscera favored, knowing literally nothing about the deck list. But other than that, it really comes down to the player skill here.
For sure it does. And I think this game might even be decided in the first, potentially in the first few turns, if either player can accurately read what their opponent is trying to do here, so that they can kind of act in such and try to play around. I think that's going to be a huge factor in the first couple turns of this game. And just generally, I mean, the fact that it looks like T's going to get to go first here, that's a huge advantage for him right away.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. I would assume that he probably knows like all the sneaky tricks about turn one against Prism. You don't want to like lose your action point and get just punished with an instant herald or something like that. So I'm expecting to see just kind of a little bit of setup, probably running could run Vexing Quillhand also. I think either is fine. Vexing's probably a bit better just for the explosiveness, and then you just are able to get off that much more with like Mordred Tides and such. But wouldn't be surprised to see either. I think it's also a matter of how well T is able to generate and utilize his rune chance, because Prism does run a lot of blues, relatively speaking, blues and yellows, to be able to block individual rune chance with one arcane, and then the ability for Prism to use floating resources to activate things like Phantasmal Footsteps, to activate Spectral Shields, Soul Shields, is quite high as far as the utility. Really, only second to comparable to like Starvo with like Crown of Seeds and
yeah,
shields like Rampart and stuff. So I think Yuki can navigate this into a more favorable situation. I think it really depends on what kind of pressure she's putting down.
for sure. And I think even to add to that too, part of what's going to affect just the overall thing, overall landscape of this game is I have found as the Viz player in this matchup, you're often like you can getting Prism down to a low life total is possible no matter how you play, but
Hmm.
Prism is so good at blocking out that and just preventing damage, especially on somebody who's breaking the combat chain and not hitting 6 power attacks, because they get so much utility out of footsteps then.
Hmm.
And there's Prism's got so many little tricks to prevent damage that you can get a Prism down to 1, and they'll happily sit at 1 for the rest of the game and somehow still whittle you down. And if you don't get that extra powerful oomph to
Yep,
seal the game, the prism just laughs off everything you're doing. So I think part of that's going to come
for
down to
sure.
whether T can have those one or two truly like over the top turns.
Yeah, I totally agree here. We are seeing the grasp come out of T, so the less explosive option. Armor is still really good against Heralds, Herald of Erudition among others. And Yuki, pretty standard loadout with the Null one coming on the Null Glove one, so Arcane Barrier one, and then standard Skullcap Tunic Phantasmal. He did start, and he will be starting with a pitching into Sonata, finding nothing, finding four
Oh,
attack actions. It looks like
and
a
this
bit of a woof there.
and this is what I was talking about right away. Like when you're turn 1 trying to go in on a Sonata and your Sonata whiffs, that's
Mm-hmm.
that's already you're behind now. T going in on that Sonata on a 4 card hand and whiffing is behind, and
Yeah,
he's gonna need to find a way to make up that ground now. He's
yep.
only got 2 Sonatas left. He's only got you know between the 2 Sonatas and the 3 becomes what, 5 true shots at
Hmm.
having that turn now. Um,
Yep.
and here we
It's
see,
true. Herald of Erudition, Big Daddy, big Herald coming out here. The biggest Herald does have the CNC, luckily. T able to pop the Phantasm on the Herald. Pretty
yeah,
important. There are a decent amount of sixes on Viscera side. Amplify Red is a 6. CNC is a 6. Reclamation is a 7. So there's, depending on the side, there is at least probably 8 to 9 cards that can pop the heralds that need to be popped. And there is about 6 armor sitting on there for an upfront block if T is a lower life, assuming you don't block with the creepers early, right? So if you're on lower life, you have like the upfront 6 armor that you can block a herald with, but T is gonna go on the offensive here with yellow Mauve Skies into Dread Triptych. So the Dread Triptych is going to generate 1 rune chant because Mauve Skies is a thing, generate another rune chant because of Viscerai, so
And
or he's not going to generate the second one. I'm pretty
uh,
sure. Yeah, there it
yeah,
is. Okay, so didn't miss that one. If the Arcane does hit, Dread Triptych will generate 1 more. Dread Triptych is one of those really funny cards that doesn't look like a lot, but especially off a Mordred, it can be like one of your best attack actions, right? So I like the Dread, especially if it hits. The Yellow Moth Skies will be uh, generating another 2 rune chance out of there. So
yeah. So
especially
potential to
if
generate a lot of rune chants here already.
yeah, because then if it hits, it's another one. So if this hits, it's generating 4 rune chance in total, right? 2 from the Mauve, and then 1 from the Dread Triptych, and then if the Arcane lands, 1 more from the Dread Triptych. If Yuki literally blocks everything. However, it's not so hard to kind of pitch a blue block with, or like pitch whatever, block a yellow or a blue, block the rune chant with your null gloves, use another one for the footsteps, and then block with the 3 block. And that would block the full 4 and block the 1 arcane. That would probably be the best case scenario, unless there's just Sink Below or Fate Foreseen here. That's also another possibility. However, if you let the arcane pass, you do give another arcane. You're essentially letting another damage through with another rune chant, which could also come back to reduce the cost for something like an amplify or a rune flash, right? So we do see the skull cap block coming up here. So she took the 1 arcane, T generated 1 rune chant up to 3, and then that made the skull cap block for 2. So she's blocking for 5, and Rosetta going to be coming in here for question mark. Going to be coming in for question mark. Nope, deciding if he wants to Arsenal or not, I imagine. So T's just going to come in for the 3 rune chants, 4 go again, no floating. Yuki's just going to take it to the face here. No relevant on hits for the rune flash, so it seems like a fine choice. I assume Yuki might have like a double herald turn or an aura. That is an aura right there. That's the double aura, the magical double aura turn. So we have an Arclight Sentinel followed with a passing Mirage, and that's the one that I would say it's probably like a medium priority. It's not as good as Haste Bending, but it's probably better than Pierce Reality. Although in this matchup, they're probably pretty similar. So Haze Bending is the one that removes the Phantasm on the first instance of Phantasm, essentially. So Yuki is able to avoid those kind of pops from CNC, from Runic, all those other cards beforehand. So it's quite nice. And T is going to have to get rid of that Arclight. And I don't see a way he can gain another action point other than lead the charge, which is like traditionally run in the Viscerai deck. Usually 1, 2, or 3, I would say I've seen. So without the lead the charge, he's going to have to hit into that Arclight and pass, I think.
Unless he's got a Rattle Bones and he can try to go in with an attack action and get the rune chance to hit. That's another way I've gotten around Arclight Sentinel. But we see here he's just gonna swing the Rosetta, make a rune chant, try to just wait for a bigger turn down the road. And I think that's
For sure.
probably you're still at 40 health. That's probably the right play on T's part at this point.
Yeah, I'd say so. You don't really need to it's a good stall, but you don't particularly know that Yuki's going to draw nuts here. She does have the tunic counter up, so it is possible to set an aura in the arsenal. Very very common, like a yellow, and then on their turn you can use the blue in the tunic to get that off. But because she just generated on this turn, she could use a blue in that to get a yellow aura, which is exactly what's happening here. She's get a double aura
Nice.
yet again. She's getting that sweet taste of board state, which is always what Prisms aspire to be here. So she now has the Pierce Reality, which gets the +2s, and she has the Odes. So her Heralds are going to come out without Phantasm, with Go again, and they're going to hit for +2 more with any pitch because of the Ode to Wrath, which is
Yeah.
quite the combo. That's quite the 3 auras to have. That really does unlock your Herald potential, in my opinion. So very good at recognizing that those are some good priority auras to get out in that matchup, because Heralds will be one of your biggest ways to beat Viscerai in this matchup, because generally just stacking auras and hitting, it's okay, but it's not as good as also putting a little bit of Herald pressure. So I'm curious to see if T can take back a bit of the tempo because that board state is extremely frightening unless there's something like a lead the charge or as you said like a rattle bones to try to get more than one aura. But I don't think Viscera cares as much about hitting multi auras. I think maybe like a Rosetta at one of them at the end of your turn might be like the maximum that you're looking to do as Viscera. It probably takes away way too much tempo to actually start double swinging auras with whatever, right?
I mean, I think it's situational. There are times where it's like you're either you're ahead or you've got a good pace going, and
Mm-hmm.
they take a life hit to try to aura you out, and you go, "Ha! I don't care about
True.
this. I'm just going to keep going to face." But there are times where they do manage to kind of aura lock you, and it's like, "Okay, well, I need to deal with
Yep.
this," and that's that I think that's in part where those lead the charges can also be beneficial and why they're just such
Yep.
good tech cards in the deck.
For sure. I think that's totally right here. We're just seeing the pitch of blue, get a rune chant, Rosetta, the aura. The worst one on here is the ode, as far as T is concerned, right? Because free go again off any pitch. That's real nice, especially the extra one damage coming through, like one extra damage. That's fine for like higher board states, but like that go again off any herald, which doesn't matter what color you got pitching, is also very very nice. So I definitely agree with hitting the ode to wrath in this
I agree
particular
as well.
situations.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, just for that damage multiplier as well. It's just so.
yeah, exactly. And so we're gonna be seeing blue war. Looks like a blue war turn herald. That could be crazy here.
I
Sometimes the
think that,
colors are a little bit difficult. Might
that
be
is a
might.
yellow
Oh, it's a
Wartune
yellow.
Herald.
It's a yellow. Okay, so it's gonna be coming in for 6 go again. It does not have Phantasm because of haste bending, and it's coming in for +2 because of Pierce. So that's a war tune for 8, and you can't pop it. So I I don't think you really block this if your hand is like decent enough. However, Yuki's got the full grip because she just took the E strike for 2 arcane 5 go again before. So she is going to flashes in the ode. So she's gonna add a little bit of
Oh,
spice to that. Flashing in the ode, pitching the yellow. So
everything's
everything's got go again now.
Kodachis are now pistols.
Kadashis are pistols. We do see the Bloodsheath block just to turn that online for the eventuality of having to use it. So Yuki just said, you know what? Take my second ode. You're gonna have to keep hitting these odes turn after turn. But now it's 25 to 27. So we do see the Mordred Tide, ye old
Ooh,
Mordred Tide coming out of the arsenal here. So we might actually have
I wonder if he's got
I think a
the
skeleton.
Sonata right now.
Yeah, you think this is the skeleton pop right here? You think that's gonna be maybe like a non-attack and then a oh no, okay, we see the amplify here. So the amplify is free, which is nice because of the
Makes
discount.
two.
Makes two. The mauve will actually generate two. It looks like a blue mauve, so it'll create 2 rune chance on hit because of the Mordred Tide.
Yeah,
Coming in for 3 and 6. Probably end up taking the arcane, I imagine, unless Yuki has a blue aura she really doesn't want. By blocking the 3 arcane, she's getting the extra defensive value out of it because she's blocking 3 arcane instead of 2 physical. So that could be a possible block. And then the 6 is kind of 6. I mean, Soul Shield would be really really good here, right? Because you can pitch to block 1 arcane, and then your 2 floating comes in for Soul Shield and blocks the 6. So you're blocking with 2 cards. You're blocking 7, and you're getting card and soul, which not sure if she's running Celestial Cataclysm. It could be useful, but also getting more in Soul just gives you more outs to actually create a Spectral Shield later, as she is generating a bit of that board state to be able to go for that strategy. Um, Yuki's definitely thinking about it here. So I think he has 2 cards in hand, no floating. I think likely gonna see at least one more attack. Uh, if it is like maybe I think probably best case scenario if he wants to attack face is like a rune flash because you can pitch the blue for the rune flash. It gets discounted by 2, or like yeah, it gets discounted by 2, generate 2, and then come in Rosetta or something like that. Sonata
yeah,
is obviously Sonata, right? I mean, if he has Sonata, he has Sonata. That would also be good, but Yuki's just going to decide to take the 3 arcane here, which makes a whole lot of sense.
yeah. I think that's a safe hit to take.
Yeah, so if she's taking the arcane here, I'm assuming she doesn't have Soul Shield because she probably would have done the play that I mentioned earlier. she's gonna take the 6. I have a feeling she might have a lot of auras in hand, like maybe like a yellow and a blue aura, and she wants to flash it out or something along those lines. But she's kind of just waiting to see what else is in the bank. She did take the physical, so Mauve creating 2 rune chance, Skeletor Sonata, there it is. We did kind of predict that it was possible that this Sonata was coming out here, so going to reduce it by, I believe he had 4, right? So X is 2, he's revealing 5, I believe.
That sounds right. Yeah. 3, 4.
So he gets almost the like, I mean, off 5 cards, perfect split is relative, right? But he gets the 2 attack actions, which is a meet and greet, a CNC. Meet and greet will have go again regardless because
Yep.
Yuki's already taken arcane. CNC is pretty nice to get whatever she has out arsenal out of it. It could also be an aura, right? That being said, which is like a yellow aura to be able to flash it out. However, if she saved, she did have a soul shield for some reason or a D-react in the arsenal and was saving it. Probably want to use it on like the meet and greet or whatever's coming
Yep.
out next. However, it is something to be said. We don't know what the last card is, if it's a blue or maybe it's another red, right? We don't really know. T does have the discount on his next attack action, so if he does come in with that meet and greet, it will be free. That is important to note. So it would be coming in for 4. It has the Mordred on there, so it would be generating two arcane on hit also. So that would be coming in for a pretty nice chunk of damage here. I'd probably assume it'd be like a meet and greet and then possibly pitch for CNC. It sounds like a pretty good turn to me, but he might have some different things in mind here.
Yeah, it really depends on what that
Was
last card in his hand is too, right?
Yeah, I usually yeah,
Oh, we're
that's
gonna.
true. So he's pitching with the CNC. Whoa, that's free though.
Yeah.
Okay, so probably forgot about the attack action being reduced there because that mean greet should be free off the Skeletor.
Yes, it should be.
Um, which is that might be a tangible misplay there because he's pitching a red for it, meaning like that could be a CNC that might have been able to be Arsenal or something like that. We'll see what impact that has throughout the game here. But Yuki's just get taken to the face. Mean Greed generating 2 rune chance on hit because of the Mordred, so 1+1.
Well, I think the
I
2
think
rune chants we're seeing are from the meet and greet
oh,
being
from the
played.
Viscera.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we're still deciding on the block is probably what's happening here. I imagine. Yuki just deciding on the physical block, probably a 3 and a skull cap, I imagine.
Yep.
Yeah,
Looks like
three
it.
three and a skull cap. Yeah, I think you're at the point where like if they have like runic reclamation or whatever, they just have it. Oh, so it was a third red. It was a rattlebones. So the difference here is that if T got the discount correctly, like if he noticed that there was a discount here, he would have either a rattlebones or a CNC in arsenal.
Yeah.
I think that is a big difference in my opinion. Both of those are very very good cards to have, or just keeping CNC in hand. But with the passing mirage, obviously you can't really pop the first herald, so less good, I guess. But Rattlebones in Arsenal is really really good in my opinion. So we'll kind of
Especially when
see
there's still 2 ALSs to be seen, and
there's
yeah, that's
ALSs. Yuki is going to 4. Um, but at 27-4 might not matter that much. I'm not really sure here.
but
Um,
this is where I was also saying like prisms can go to those super low life totals because they use their life as a resource, and then they come back and they can
mm,
just lock out the game. Like she's got 3 resources on the board right now. If she's got something to keep that, pushing that and further try to lock out T,
mhm.
T's life threshold might not be as cushy as he thinks it is right now.
Does she have Genesis? Because she's waiting. I think she's thinking about like putting an aura out at the end of his turn because he wants to pass. He has no cards in hand. Um, so I imagine she's thinking about like an aura on his turn. However, she doesn't have Tunic up, so she would just be pitching 2 cards for something. Oh, it's the block on
Oh,
the Rosetta. I'm sorry, ignore me. So she took the Arcane and she blocked the Rosetta with the Miraging Metamorph. So she's down to 4 because of the Arcane, with 2 cards in hand, 1 card in Arsenal. Passing Mirage, Haze Bending, and sorry, Pierce Reality and Otarath on board, I believe. Passing Mirage, Pierce Reality, Otarath. Yeah, okay. Erudition coming out,
7, no
which
Phantasm.
7 no Phantasm dominate. A higher health on the Viscerai side. So Skullcap only blocks for 1, Grass blocks for 2, Creepers blocks for 1. So maybe you throw all your equipment in a 3 block. Is that sounds about right? I mean, I don't see how you let this hit. This is the way Yuki gets back into the game. I think you give up Creepers or
He's
not.
gonna take it.
All right. All right, let's. I disagree with that, but I understand that at a high life lead, it might seem like okay, whatever. It doesn't really. She's at 4.
I,
My hand is good enough to really push it.
I'll be honest, I don't know if I do disagree with it. I have found since Prism's gone to more of like a, now this is going to change again likely. Uh, I
Is that
like
an another Herald? Okay.
the Herald of Erudition turns aren't as scary as they used to be when it would be like Herald of Erudition into like Tome of Divinity, Tome of Divinity, Tome of Divinity into like ALS, ALS,
Mm-hmm.
ALS. You're not doing
Yeah,
that anymore. So there's been times now where I'm like, you know what, I'm happy to take a Herald of Erudition if I can, swing back with something equally oppressive.
it's true, but this is kind of what I was scared of here, like a triple Herald turn, which was only possible off that Erudition. This
That's
one
true.
coming in for another 5, so it's coming in for a total of 17 off 2 cards, which should it have been the case if you block it up here? Maybe he really needed the creepers. I don't know, right? It could have been the case where, but now you see now he's blocking with it anyway. So why wouldn't you just block the Herald and just stop the turn? In my opinion,
I
the Herald of
and
Erudition. But
in that respect, I agree with you. I do think he might have misread that turn a little bit and thought this won't be as
I think
explosive as I.
I've seen Prisms do this so many times off Herald. It just gets you back into the game that I felt like to me you just if you can you just you do
That's
block
fair.
here. But Reclamation coming out here, um, coming
With
in for
go again.
7 with Go again. I feel like Yuki probably just blocks with 2 cards and Tunic unless she has a D-React. That would be obviously ideal if she had a Soul Shield here. Would be very, very good. If she had a blue pitch for Soul Shield, block with Tunic, you can't. You should try to block. They're at 2. You have 3 auras on board. As Prism, you just block this out and you pitch yellow, and that's it. They only have 1 card in hand, like probably pitching for Rosetta. Um, and if you have enough pitch left over from Soul Shield, you just use one of the remaining pitch, you block the Arcane, and you're probably down to like 1 or 2, but you probably win the game. I I don't know. I think the Erudition block might have been a bit of a misdemeanor there, but I understand kind of the train of thought, but it looks like we are going to see a Soul Shield. I assume. I mean, you don't usually block with Tunic and not follow it up with a
Yeah,
Soul Shield. There it is.
pitching the ALS.
Yep, makes total sense. You don't need the
Yeah,
Tunic at this point. Rosetta coming in for 2 and 2. The only nice thing here would be if you pitch the blue. If you had a blue to pitch, I totally understand if she just didn't, but could just pitch it now, right? Could just block with footsteps off okay, just block it with miraging. That's fair. Just going down to 1.
woof.
Has a yellow in hand, I imagine.
I hope so. That's a scary place to be now.
It is,
But
but Viscera with no cards in arsenal, you're also at higher life, meaning your only armor is your grasp, meaning you
and
only get 1 armor block.
and he can't say no blocks on this and go to 1 even because of the ode.
Correct.
So
And
he's
she's gonna
got
pitch
a.
the last yellow, get the spectral.
So in theory, she gets
She's
3
gonna come
cards
in.
out of his hand here.
She gets 3 more cards. He's gonna have 1 card. She is at 1. However, I don't think there's a single card that can get through a 1 card block without any rune chance up. Obviously, we're
Yeah,
just
I
gonna see
agree.
the defenestration of the hand here, just off the board, no armor to speak of, 1 card. I don't know what you do here. Probably concede if I'm being honest as the Viscera. Uh, it was definitely Yeah,
Make
okay.
a
So
rune
you're gonna create the
chant
rune
and
chant.
then
Yep.
swing at face.
Yeah, so the shield's gonna block the rune chant if she wants. She doesn't even have to, and then she can also just pitch blue to come in with the footsteps block, to like block the Rosetta, and then the rest for the rune chant. So she just
Or
pitches a blue, or a
if
yellow
she's got the
to do
Merciful
that.
Retribution, kill him with style.
Kill. Yep. No, it's true. I mean, yeah, you could do that off the rune chant, popping against the soul shield, soul a spectral shield. Sorry, but the most efficient block would just to pitch to block the rune chant and then use another pitch for the footsteps spectral.
Yeah.
However, I don't really know what her hand is here.
All right, so we're gonna see.
That's also fine.
Yep,
Blocking
that
this
works too.
TNC, you don't need it at this point. You just pitch a, oh yeah, you get the Herald, has no phantasm, comes in for 7 go again at the blue.
What color is? Oh, it's a blue. So yeah, 7.
Yeah, come in for 7 go again. And then it's gonna be it's gonna be another at a minimum. Yeah, she's just, oh, there's a Gorganian in there too, so there was no hope. I think the hand
So
was also just very extremely red.
there we have it.
Wow.
Looks like.
I mean, it was looking 27-4, and now it's looking like Yuki's winning 24-7. Okay, I'm gonna stop that now. And we have Prism from West Coast, Best Coast, bringing it back here to the West Coast, I guess. And I don't know. What do you think about that game?
Well, I mean, this kind of goes back to what I was talking. Yeah, it looks like the players are packing it up here. I think we can confidently say this game's over.
Mm,
This one goes back to what I was talking about how a Prism can just lean into their life total and bring back a game when you think you're just way out of it. And like I've even myself on Prism, I've had games where I'm down 27-1, and just through aura locking my opponent, I'm able to bring it back and take the win. So Yuki, I think, played that game really well. Knew where to kind of play defensively and where she could push. And now I do think Thebeau taking that Herald of Erudition, though. I was saying, I do still feel confidently that Herald of Eruditions aren't as scary as they used to be. In that case, down at 27, you've got the Ode to Wrath on the board. I think at that point, T should have committed to blocking. If he was able to full block that, he should have. I think that could have possibly locked the game for him. Um,
yeah, I mean, my only issue here is that ignoring the Skeletor mean greed, right? Like that, I don't know if that Rattlebones is gonna, especially with his draws. I don't know if it really would have changed too much. However, the blocking, like if you have 4 block on your armor and a 3 block, it's like it doesn't seem worth the risk unless you're absolutely sure you need creepers for lethal. And I don't remember what T ended up blocking with specifically here, but it might be like a personal bias against whenever I see erudition and I'm up that much life, I don't risk it, because at 4 you're likely to put on enough pressure through the next couple hands to probably get there anyways. And so personally, because I'm fairly risk averse when I'm playing into Prism for heralds such as erudition, I probably wouldn't have. Although I do understand the point that you're making here, at that life total, erudition is not as impactful as it used to be. But with all the prisms that I see running a 9 of Wartune Herald, you're running 9 of them. Most prisms are running 9. It costs 1. A triple Herald turn is not nearly as unheard of as maybe it used to be. Um, and I think Yuki already still had a card in hand also when she was playing that Herald. So, oh, sorry, oh, she had one floating. She either had one floating on one card, I'm not sure, but she had enough to easily pitch for it. And she's already got board state that you have to worry about. So Heralds
yeah,
are just the win con. And I think, there is an argument to be said that, okay, if you do commit all your armor, you're going to need creepers to win eventually. So you just can't risk blowing up the creepers for something like this. I get it. But it went from 27-4 to like 2-4 real quick. So that's probably the only play I saw that um, probably could have altered the game. Other than that, I'm not really
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, and I agree. I think that was the point where up until that point, T had a good lead,
Hmm.
and was on the right path. But yeah, that was the pivot Yuki needed to get her there, and a block on that. I 100% agree. A block on that Herald of Erudition could have spelled out a very different game at
Yeah,
that point.
it is interesting to note that like now Skelda's banned, right? So pretty big impact on that particular game if T didn't have Skelda. It's a fairly big impact, right? Because you don't get your 2 free cards off that rune chain generation from Mordred Tide, and you don't get the. I mean, he would have got the meet and greet for free if like he was supposed to get the meet and greet for free, right? But like he would have had to pitch for the meet and greet anyways, and if you had a bunch of reds, then you're kind of kind of doomed here. And it's interesting to see that a well played Prism with the right deck and right understanding can beat Viserai in that state. How? What's the matchup now after Skelda being banned? What do you think?
I don't think Viscerite is still around post Skeletor. Um,
You don't think he just goes tempo max?
even with like max tempo, when I would play my tempo turns, there was still some form of a semi OTK component to most of my games. Even just something as simple as like ending a turn on 2-3 rune chance to like then start a turn go into a Scalata with 6 rune chance or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. Um, to not have Scalata at all, the only way you can Sonata now is to pitch into it, and you're just breaking even with card value at that point. Like you pitch 2 cards into it, you hope to maybe get 2 cards out of it now.
Mm-hmm.
I I mean, I think maybe Agroviz, but then Agroviz gets preyed on by Kano, and um, Vizrai is going to be in a tough spot.
No, fair enough. It's also like I think a matter of fact is like losing 2 armor, right? Like in
That
that
too.
chess piece slot. So what you run like Tunic's not very good, so you're running Iron Weave or like Deep Blue or something. Like I think those are just like a full tier or two down from Skeletor, right? Just as far as utility and armor block, right? So
Yeah.
I definitely agree with you, but it's definitely, as most people, myself included, you've taken out one of historically Prism's worst matchups, right? As far as like this particular, like T was leading for most of the game. Like he had some very good early turns. I really like the Moths guys. The Moths guys into the Dread Triptych was very very good into being able to set up his remaining turns, and it was looking pretty good even without. Um, do you think maybe adding the Quill Hand instead of the Grasp? Although to be fair, he did use the Grasp a couple times to be able to filter his hand. Uh, but I know you personally like Quill Hand into that matchup. So do you think that would have made any kind of difference maybe on his final turn or something like that? Like being able to pop the Quill Hand with the Mordred and you grab another card, right? So instead of 5 cards, you're grabbing 6 cards off that Sonata because you can pay 1 more to the Skeleton. Do you think that would have made a tangible difference?
Now, at this point in time, the heuristic I was kind of operating on for Quill Hand versus Grasp was, do I go first or second? If I'm going second and more inclined to play a tempo position, that's when I
Mm.
want Quill Hand for sure, because then if tempo isn't tempo-y enough and you need that extra push, you can crack your Quill Hand, get the extra 2 rune chance. Sometimes that's over the top lethal, sometimes that's just a little bit extra for your Sonata.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if I'm going first, I probably want grasp is what I've been determining at this point. And
Mm-hmm.
I've been finding success with being able to cycle my hand, and sometimes even if you're going turn one, you're going to lean in a little more on the semi OTK side. So you're at a worst case scenario, you're able to at least cycle your hand to make a couple of rune chants over your first couple turns.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Like I saw the argument for Quill Hand, like that explosiveness just off hey, here's a free three three rune chance off that, and a free card of Sonata, right? So
Yeah.
it's obviously not going to be the case in the future. Like that's just going to be the two rune chance. It's not going to do the Skeleton Sonata anymore. So not as much of an issue ahead, but yeah, super interesting game. Yuki showing us why she is the PTI hunter on Prism.
Canada's
Taking down
national champion
Canada's
for a
national
reason.
champion, bringing the West Coast up to 2-0 now, 2-0.
2-0, yes. They are up 2-0 on the series now, and Yuki's managed to put SEAL Team Lotus into a tough spot now. SEAL Team Lotus has to win out in order to keep their second place position going into the last week. So, yeah, Yuki has put a stranglehold on the series, and it's going to be. I think we're going to have some really exciting matches going forward on our last three matches now. Um, and we do. I don't have all the matches scheduled yet, but I do have some times and dates here for some of the matches. We will be showing Dong Hee Kim versus Velio Valdespino. And that's going to be Thursday at 5. Yeah, this Thursday, so the 26th, 28th, April 28th, 5 or 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. We do also have Colin Honingman taking on Joshua Kehe. And that's going to be this Saturday, the 30th. That match is at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. We do have one more match, like I said, still to be scheduled as well. Jacob Baugh, a two-time top eighter, versus Zane Johnson as well. So, yeah,
It's gonna be a good one.
we're going to have some exciting matches here ahead of us still. I am super excited for them. Super excited to bring all this content to you guys. Yeah. I think that's going to bring us to the end of this stream. As always, thank you for tuning in, watching. A big thank you once again to Eric Larere for joining us. Did I pointed the wrong way again? That side. Eric
No worries.
Larere from Spark of Genius. Go check them out on YouTube. Go check them out on Twitter. The Twitter handle's up on the screen there. They do some great work, him and his partner Rob. And on top of that, we here at the Combat Chain would love a like and subscribe on YouTube and a follow on Twitter if you guys are able to do it. Yeah, I think that's going to be it though. And until the next stream, we are closing the Combat Chain.
Closing the combat chain. All right.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.